Ask you questions, or do you want me to read the ones you gave?
Why did you ask me to email them?
No, I'm asking, well, okay, I'll speak for you then. I will answer the question. I think we should always email our questions, especially on these sensitive topics, because it gives us an opportunity to go back to the people that make the recommendations, and it gives us a chance to ask them in advance rather than sit up here and try to extemporaneously answer questions, especially when it comes to these sensitive things, because this has been a sensitive topic for quite a few years. So the one question was, can we deduct the team rooms, and if so, what is the amount? So the answer that's typed there in front of me is they can be deducted through a deduct change order after the project is approved, and the estimate looks like that would result in $80,000 or each, or $160 estimated savings without the team room.
What I would like to advise you that is, if you do make changes to this floor plan now and take areas of that building off, our approval for the NPDS permit for stormwater calculations and size of the building is all based on this base bid, which is the overall building.
I just don't understand, because when we were presented with the building, it was that the building had all these pieces and it could come apart, and I don't see anywhere in any of the meetings I attended, or in any of there was one meeting, one facilities meeting that I wasn't at, and there's nothing in the minutes about the team rooms not being a deduct. I thought that was the idea, that they were going to be a deduct, so we could see what they cost, and then that helps with the fundraising, because they were optional.
That's really not the way that it progressed, because it's impossible to submit a plan for approval that way. So and I don't know if you were here or not, but we were around the table. We could probably check Mrs. Furlong's files to see exactly who said what, but I thought we agreed that the base project would be laboratories, concession stand, and those rooms. And then the option for the one option was the weight room was the option, because you can't keep going back and getting, it's like asking a builder to tell me you want to build a house, but I might build it in Florida, and I might build it in California, or I might build it in Alaska. So can you give me an estimate? So, not to oversimplify it, but I think we had arrived at, and maybe I'm wrong, but I thought we had the base building was that was the building.
I thought I remembered the footprint being agreed to.
Right.
And then adding as we saw fit.
Well, to me, and I remember the footprint being that center of concession, laboratory, team room, I think. That's kind of how I remembered it.
Is the team room the weight room? Is that different than the weight
No,
room?
the team room is that's where the teams go before and halftime and
Okay.
changing.
Okay, so but the bottom line is it would be 80,000 per room, or 160,000.
Well, the bottom line is we have to recalculate the
But you said then we
stormwater
have to change
survey.
Then that would have to be changed also.
Okay, the second question that you asked was, will the timeline allow a board vote in March? And the administration came back, schedule is time sensitive, a March approval would put the project on even a more tight situation than it already is. So I'll take that as a no. They don't want to allow that.
Yeah, I mean, and my reason for asking that, and I shared this with Mr. Loeffler, is that with the fundraising, that we've never had an amount, and now we have an amount, and before we'd actually vote, there would be more time to fundraise, saying this is the amount, and a little more urgency or need for the fundraising, now that people could say, okay, well, this is what it is, before the board actually votes.
Okay. I think you had 3 questions.
Yeah.
Oh, there's 4 questions. The third question that was, what are the extra items that were required by the township and fire department how much did these items add to the bid? So, right, there is a summary pack that came out, but quickly, they were listed as trees, additional water line modifications, an additional fire hydrant, and the relocation of existing electrical work out of a paved patio area. And also, it was one of the documents. Can't make it out. I can't increase the size there. Page 4. Sorry, page 7. And then, excuse me, your final fourth question was there any money set aside in capital projects funds for stadium in addition to the $3 million? So, are there any money set aside in capital projects in addition to $3 million? So, the district came back. Not to my knowledge, this was the last capital project at home and track and field. So, this should be it. Anybody else have any thoughts, questions?
Just for clarification, what was the cost of phase 1 again? Anybody remember?
Well, it depends. If you want to call phase 1 the bleachers, we started out with a total in the 5-year plan of $3 million. And then the bleachers came in at around, well, actually, it started out at $3 million, and then with construction testing, contingency, and fees, it subtotaled out at $3,535,000. So then the bid was $1,475,000, and then with the management fees, another $88,000. You know, our 3.5 got diminished to 1.9 million. 1,971,500.
So it was one,
Yeah, 1.9 for phase 1, and now it's 2.9 for phase 2.
No, it's about 1.5.
That was like
1.5 for phase 1.
Well, the difference between 3,535 and 1,971.
So we're how much over our original estimate? What we budgeted for, it was $1 million?
Well, the bid came in at 2,967, and you know, there were things that I don't know how to exactly answer the question if it came in over, because as we added things,
but we had budgeted.
I understood we had $3 million in the budget for the field, for the stadium.
Is that correct?
well, we did, but that $3 million was based on, or that estimate was based on, you know, we did things like added 2,000 more seats.
I understand that.
So
I'm
it's
just
just
saying.
hard to make a blanket comment like that.
No, I understand. That's
I
what was
want-
in the, no, that's what was in, I'm just questioning. That's what was in the budget, and that's why we went ahead with Hellman Field, and now we're almost, what did I say, $2 million over. Just questioning, I just would like to understand that.
Well, that is our goal for the fundraising campaign.
Yeah, but that's going to be 20 years.
10. That's the goal. I mean,
But still,
we had
that's
written-
10 years out.
We can't hear what you're saying.
She said their fund, Mrs. Yardley said that's what they're fundraising for, that amount of money, but it'll take 10 years.
10 years in
Right, and all these
Pennridge
things were in
pays
the packet, because there's a lot, I mean, some of the things that were, to me, like the stormwater, that was almost $500,000. So these are things that are, it gets frustrating, I think, to be up here, because, you know, it's hard to, you know, and I think our engineer, Dewey, has done a pretty good job hitting their numbers over the years. In fact, if you look at all those numbers that are in there, they really only, in spite of all the things we had to add, the stormwater, you know, we added heating along the way, and that if there is going to be a weight room, which is still at the deduct, if there's a weight room, the school wants to use it year-round, so they put heat in it. So, you know, that's $100,000 of the HVAC contract. So they really came within about $200,000, even with all the, you know, with all the changes and all the government work. And, you know, the fire department, they wanted us to leave enough room to get the ladder truck in there into a masonry non-combustible building. Well, now it'll have a different roof, so maybe they were right about that. But these things, they do start adding up, no question about it. We added, the flagpole got changed. We had to put fencing behind, you know, bleachers for safety. It's all in there, and I think, you know, the bid came in at 2,967, no, actually, the whole thing was, the subtotal was 3,497,000, and their estimates were 3,003,000. So they were like 197,000 off of the estimate or the guesstimate or what we put into the capital projects budget 4 years ago. But it's a good question, though. I mean, it's a logical question. What did the bleachers cost? So it's not just, you could actually go back and add, I tried to find this out today and I couldn't. I wanted to figure out how much we could spend on the field altogether in total from the first time it was presented as a one package. Because I believe every time we bring these things back, you're bringing excavation equipment on the site for the fourth time. That's not cheap. So when you do it in pieces like this, you know, we pay more. That's why I think we kind of arrived at that footprint way back when, because we didn't want to add it later because we'll pay through the notes. The 80,000 we'll be deducting would be 280 apiece by the time we had added them late in the future. So I'm not trying to make a case for it one way or the other. These are the numbers. I think the fact that we got 24 people to bid on it was great. And, you know, the conditions aren't as great as they were the last time. Builders are working, they've got work, they're not bidding it cheap, they want to get their pound of flesh because they have other work. So that's my 2 cents on this. And the goal for it is to have it on budget for March 23rd for a vote. And I think some of the things we need to talk about is, do we want to put that weight room on or not? And that's the one deduct that we still have.
You just said March 23rd, you meant February 23rd?
I did, February, sorry about that.
Well, again, the problem I'm having is, if we're going to say that we're going to take the weight room off the project or not put it on, I don't see that means that whether we raise the money through the fundraising or not, you're not going to bring all the equipment back and just build a weight room. I mean, if you're either going to say, yes, it's going to be done, and we're going to privately reimburse the district somehow for this money that, I mean, you can't take it off, or it won't happen. I guess I just don't understand that whole, it looks like the district is going to have to fund it, if in fact we want it. And again, as I've heard Coach say and the rest, that it really seems like the school needs that weight room. The existing weight room is not adequate for all the teams that are trying to use it.
Right, that's been a problem. And just I hope to be clear, I mean, the administration's recommendation was to do the entire project except for the change out of the metal roof. So you know, that's, excuse me, that's the recommendation. And you know, the weight room thing, part of the reason that it makes, you know, I think it's $140,000, and it does take the pressure off so the other sports teams, and not only teams, but the other students can get at that weight room we have, because they can't right now. It's just too crowded in there. That's where the heat came in, and I don't know how that, you know, one of the difficulties with this whole thing too is, you know, the engineers met with the district, and so these things kind of evolved. And since the board, at least in my opinion, we don't really get involved in design of any projects. We see it in the end, what the district comes up with. So these things that jump out and pop out at us like we're surprised, you know, we really shouldn't be too surprised. I still get surprised myself, but I shouldn't. You know, it was kind of like the big project we did last summer with the district, the support center. I mean, we didn't have one question from the crowd on that place. The board, as far as I knew, had nothing to do with the design. You know, typically Dewey goes and meets with the superintendent and the affected parties and departments, and they come up with the building they want. So I don't know, that building was almost $5 million, I guess, for renovations. $4 million, something like that. That's up. I don't mean to say only $2 million, but you know, so this to me is just another. This is always has a sentimental part to it, and for some reason, gets a lot of more attention than all the other projects that we do that we don't get, the board doesn't get involved themselves with the design of it. This one we do.
Barry, can I just, is going on?
Can I give you, just for everybody information, because Dave's referencing the Rams on the Ridge campaign, just for everybody to know where we stand with that. I mean, granted, it's a 10-year capital campaign. Yes, we had stated before that it will go back to the capital fund. Yes, the school district, yes, we're going to fund this up front, but this is money that we're working to bring back in. As we stand right now, there's scoreboard sponsorship at $40,000. The main gate, the side gate, they total $14,000. So there's $54,000 there that's committed. Sponsorship for the weight room is $100,000. Right now, that campaign, which is really being spearheaded by Jeff Hollenbach, in memory of his father, we're at about 65% of that $100,000, and there is more that is in the works coming in right now, so that will increase. The flagpole that we're talking about, that, like you said, was an added in from when the initial discussion happened. The VFW has been to meetings and has made a commitment to cover that, the flagpole and a memorial for alumni of the school district who served in armed forces and lost their lives. That's $12,000. That will be brought forth by the VFW. Advertising, we're at about $5,000. The pavers, we're at about $2,000. Those things, we expect those to pick up more as well. So those totals, that being said, we're at $138,000. If we reach the full capacity of the $100,000 for the weight room, with considering nothing else coming in, we would be at $173,000 already. And I know Mrs. Yardley knows this, Dr. Bovard knows this, Jeff may be familiar. When we set forth to do this capital campaign, we looked at various school districts, how they did theirs, what they did, how successful they were. And right now, there were, I think, the ones we looked at, the most they got to was maybe 50, 60,000. So we're not even 6 months into this, and we're at 138,000, quite possibly right now 173. So, we're optimistic with this, and yes, to fund it, to bring it back to the capital fund. So that helps. Every little bit helps there.
Yeah, I think you're doing great on that compared to what you usually get. Really, really doing well. I mean, it's a small piece, but it's better than nothing. It is. Still there, Mr. Thompson?
Yes, I'm good with that, thank you.
Okay. Any other thoughts on this from anybody? Because, it's going to be on the agenda. So we're going to go with the recommendation of the entire project, except the metal roof. All right, so that's going to appear on the budget, on the agenda at the next meeting. All right, so let's see here. I think that might be it for me. It is. All right, so let me just make sure that was the last. So that was the last item, and the next meeting, I apologize, I don't know when it is. March 9th. Okay, there it is. So March 9th, we'll meet again. Thank you. Mr. Sarnes.
Yes, I want to move right to the finance section because we have Glenn here, and he's been waiting patiently, so we'll let him do, right, Kathy, that's the first item? Okay,